Not live yet everywhere. Okay, now I am live everywhere. Hello, my friends. How are we doing today? I am reading for you today with the Muse Tarot. I have chosen it purposely. I know we were in kind of a bummer zone last week for starters, so I wanted to give us some big creative energy in there. Hey, Ondine. And I have been working on NaNoWriMo. I know several people who actually are often regulars to the Witchy Weather Report. Have also been doing NaNoWriMo, which is National Novel Writing Month, a thing where we all get together in November and try to write a novel, 50,000 words, to be specific, in 30 days. So, good meowing. So I thought I would honor the Muse a little bit with the Muse Tarot. This is a deck by Chris Ann. It is kind of a collage flavored deck, and I really love it. I picked it out this morning and I was like, yeah, that's the deck I should use today. All right, let me share in one or two places because I notice that Facebook is always late on sharing the video to people's feeds. It's like people get the notification like 10 minutes in. Like, rude. The first 10 minutes matter. So here is the deck we'll be working with today. Melissa, I just got your text. I love you too. Okay. Let's see the Facebook again. I'm going to just share this real quick, everyone. How are you doing? In the meantime, while I'm sharing, I want you to answer me these questions 3. 1. How are you feeling right now in this moment? I don't want the nice sugar-coated answer. I want the honest answer. Tell me how you're feeling. 2. How are you feeling about life right now? I know that's a different question, right? How are you feeling about your life right now? 3. What are your plans for the rest of this weekend? If you're in the States, it's Thanksgiving Day weekend. Many of us have it off. For me, I had a few days off during the week, and now I'm kind of back to work because I'm a musician, and weekends are my work week. But what are your plans? Tell me. I wish to know. I wish to know. I see a couple comments. Tired but good and working, says Grayson. Hi, Grayson. Good to see you. It's been a minute. We got that little cat in the chat. Melissa says, I'm actually awake and alive for a witchy weather report. Oh my god. I mean, hopefully you've been alive most times that I've done this. Ruby, hello. How are you? Hey, Judith. How are you doing? So good to see everyone. This is a great way to get my Saturday started. So I want to tell you all something. For starters, I will be reading today with the Muse Tarot by Chris Ann. If you missed it, I haven't pulled the card of the day yet. This is a really cool tarot. It's a little different. I'll read to you a little bit about this tarot from the back of the deck so you can have a little bit of an introduction to what this tarot deck is like. But I want to tell you something. I think I've been pretty transparent about it. Like, I've been having a real busy time, these last few weeks. Like, October is always my busiest month, and it kind of spilled into November this time, which is okay, you know, but, I'm finally at a place where I'm sleeping enough to start having interesting dreams again. So you need to be getting enough sleep in order to dream. And finally, I am back on a sleep schedule that's allowing me to dream, and I'm having some really interesting dreams. I know I did a whole episode on the podcast about dream interpretation, which if you're interested in, go check it out. It's Sassafras Cast. But so I've been having these dreams, and here's the recurring storyline of the dreams. I'm back at my old job. I used to have a corporate job in tech. We shall not speak of it. It was a bad time, although they paid me well. It was a very corporate work culture as well. So in my dream, I'm back at my old job, and I have spent almost all of my workday live streaming or performing. And during the course of those, like, things have gone wrong. Like, I have felt like I didn't do a good enough performance, either because, you know, something happened, I had a technical issue or whatever. And whatever, long story short, I've had an audience and people have been tuned in and I have been performing, and I like look at the clock and I'm like, oh, oops, I spent the whole day at my corporate tech job performing music and live streaming. My boss is going to fire me. I'm going to get in trouble. And it's really interesting because I feel actually good about these dreams, because it means my subconscious is finally starting to grapple with the idea of whether creativity is work. And, you know, I believe strongly that creativity is work, that creative work is real work, and that it's an okay thing to dedicate your life and your time to. But I know subconsciously I have stuff about this, you know, and I think I've been pretty transparent about that too. And clearly I still have stuff because I'm having these dreams. And that's what I love about dreams, is that they're going to tell you what you're grappling with. Even if it's a crappy dream, they're going to tell you what you're grappling with, and it can help you kind of know where you're at on your path. And even though I am not like having these really empowered dreams that are like, oh yeah, I spent the whole day live streaming and then I got paid $1 million, that's okay. And it's appropriate because I'm not feeling that empowered yet. So if I was, that would be like a fantasy dream, not like a, you know, dream that told me where I was psychologically. So I feel like these dreams are, showing me that I'm moving along the way I need to be moving along right now, that I'm doing the growth I need to be doing. All right, I want to look at some of these comments, then I will get to reading for you with the Muse Tarot. Oh, I didn't put my banner up. Let me put my little banner up here. Where'd it go? I always lose the Witchy Weather Report banner, and I don't know why. Here we go. There we go. Now I got that Sassafras banner. Okay. Let's see these comments. Ondine says, meh. I think about both things. And then says, looking forward to resting, although also looking to get more of my house organized. I love that. That's nice. And love the live stream. Boo to fear of getting fired. Yeah, thank you. I don't know who I think is going to fire me at this point because I'm working for myself, but apparently that's what's in my brain. My brain is like, I don't know, like the big permanent record in the sky. You know what I mean? All right, let's see. We got Grace in here. We got Melissa Marie here. Hey, Ruby. We got Judith. We got Mary Jane. Okay, Melissa says, I am feeling really happy and proud and thankful. Life is interesting and throwing a lot of curveballs at me, emotionally especially. And this weekend I am just recovering. NOLA was a lot of prep, even though it was part vacation. I love that you got to go to New Orleans for your job. I'm like, yes, that's so amazing. It's really funny, Melissa, because the day you left for New Orleans, and like we were in a group chat talking about it, so I knew about it. I went to play a gig, which I always do every weekend, and someone came up to me and was like, can you play a song about family? Because this is my family members, and they are here from New Orleans for the weekend. And I was like, wow, obviously, like you and my friend Melissa just switched roles for a weekend. It was so cool, and it just felt like this neat little synchronicity. And I'm glad you are relaxing. You have earned the right to relax. Judah says, sleepy, but getting it together. Grayson says, I've been having dreams that I'm in grad school. I'm taking it as a sign. That's really interesting. Yeah, I mean, if those are good dreams, yeah, that's really awesome. Mary Jane says, photography is taking off. Yes, I saw you got selected for a couple of things. I'm so excited for you. Photography taking off, and where am I? Deer in headlights, trying to be happy instead of freaked out. Yes. Don't beat yourself up too much, because even positive change makes us freak out. We are inertial beings. I was just seeing a show yesterday. I've been rewatching Evangelion, for anyone who is a fan. And there was this really interesting conversation between Misato and Ritsuko, and they're saying, there are two drives present in every species. And one is the drive to evolve in order to, like maintain their alivity through different circumstances, and the drive not to evolve, the drive to stay the same, and that these battling urges are present in every successful species. And I thought that was really interesting because it relates to me, that feeling of like we are so frightened of change and yet we crave change. Like that's a very that felt very true on a psychological level as well. So I'm just gonna put it out there that if you too are working on your evolution and it is taking some time and you're feeling resistance, to know that is itself literally an evolutionary trait. So be kind to yourself. Okay. Oh my gosh, my phone has 15% battery. I hope it makes it through the Witchy Weather Report. If I cut off halfway Instagram, then move over to Facebook, I guess. I'll try to plug it in. Okay. I'm reading to you today with the Muse Tarot by Chris Ann. Let me read to you from the back of this. Infused with a wildly eclectic spirit, the Muse Tarot will illuminate your path toward inspiration and magic with its bright symbolism and powerful muse energy. The suits are recast as emotions for cups, inspiration for wands, voices for swords, and materials for pentacles to deliver messages from this source of creation. The detailed guidebook contains card meetings, poetry, and word prompts to offer insight into your readings while stoking the sparks of your creativity. Ignite the muse within. I really love that. I love the word prompts in there, especially as someone who's really spent a lot of time in the last few weeks writing. All right, I'm going to pull our first card, then I'm going to plug my phone in so it doesn't die during Instagram. I'm so sorry. It's funny, my last few weeks, I have not been charging my phone overnight as I usually do, as I guess probably most people usually do, because I have a kitten and she likes to eat wires. So if my phone is like above 50%, I will just put it on the nightstand next to me and know it'll be there for me in the morning, and probably I'll charge it. And if it's below, then I charge it in another room where there won't be a cat eating the wire. Anyway, obviously last night I did not charge my phone, and now I am paying the price. All right. So, Muse Tarot. I'm going to pull us all a card. Last week we had some rough cards. Last week it seemed that everyone was feeling burnt out and struggly and trying to keep their heads above water rather than even thinking about grander ideals, things that we might want to do, the mark we may wish to leave on the world. That was a little too much for us last week. For many of us, I should say. Let's see what our card this week is. It is the Three of Inspiration. All right. My friends, I think we passed the test because the Three of Inspiration is wands, fire, passion, ambition, creativity. And really the Three of Inspiration represents a portal. It represents an opportunity to move forward into a new chapter of our lives. It urges us forward, in fact. It's like, don't you want to do this? Don't you want to step into your potentiality? That is the message of the Three of Wands. And that can be struggly for us, especially if we are used to just trying to keep our heads above water. There may be a part of us that is still emotionally there that is like, I can't afford to move into the next chapter of my life. Are you kidding? So I'm giving you this card as perhaps a loving challenge. I'm going to invite you to ask yourself, how can you move yourself lovingly into the next chapter of your life? That is my question to you. Okay. Ondine says, okay, will I wade through the logjam of my life and health issues? What is my next best step? I love it. We have our first request for a particular reading. You're welcome to do that. If you want me to pull a card for you around something in particular, please feel free to let me know. I am going to go ahead and plug in my cell phone so it doesn't die in the middle of the broadcast, because I am a professional. I hope my cable will reach. We're going to find out. While I am doing this, you know what? I need to lean over and look foolish. So I'm going to give us a hot 30 seconds. I want everyone to just spend their time thinking about that Three of Wands, thinking about what chapter you really want to move forward into, and if you are feeling resistance, and maybe even leave a comment. if that is the case, and let us know how you're feeling. Okay, here's a hot 30. Hey, hi guys. How are you? I've plugged in my phone. It's great. Okay, let's see. The phone's a little heavier now, so it's at a weird angle. I'll fix that. Hi everyone. All right, let's see those comments. Do we have any comments? Do we have any thinks? Any thoughts around that? Hey Brian, thank you for tuning in. Hello. All right. Phone is at a slightly different angle due to being plugged in, so sorry if that's a little less awesome of an angle. I'm doing my best over here. I know I have to try to see y'all. Okay. All right. I've got Ondine first on deck here with a cat. I know a lot of other people have dropped cats. Don't worry. Don't worry, I'll get to you. So, by the way, I should let you know, if you want a card pulled, that is our secret code. Drop a cat emoji in the chat. If you can't drop an emoji for some reason, or if you simply prefer to, you can also write meow. Yep. And Ondine kicked us off this morning by writing good meowerning, which was excellent, good use of cats. And we use that secret code because we get spammers. People will come in sometimes and say, please pull a card for me, and then we get spammers. And you don't need spammers. You don't deserve that in your life. So feel free to let me know. And I'll pull a card. Let's see, we got Ondine. Who's next? Then Melissa. And then Grayson. And I know there are more of you. Don't worry, I'll get to more of you. But 3 is how many will fit in my head. I want to let you know while I'm shuffling. I just released a podcast this past week. And the topic is burnout. It was really inspired by our conversation on the Witchy Weather Report last week, where a lot of us were talking about struggling with burnout and struggling with just doing our very best to get through each day rather than being able to have grander, higher aspirations. And so I made a podcast, and the whole topic was about holistic psychospiritual approaches to burnout. What can we do? So if that's something that sounds interesting to you, and I'm guessing it will sound interesting to some of you since we literally spent all of last week talking about that, please go check it out. Sassafras Cast, all one word. Wherever you listen to podcasts is where you can find it. And if you visit my page, wherever you're watching right now, you will be able to find it. Just scroll down a little and you'll see the post. Okay. Ondine. And Ondine asked, while I wade through the logjam of my life and health issues, what is my next best step? I love that question. Oh, this is really interesting because you have the Hanged Muse, obviously relevant to the Hanged Man in its traditional tarot deck, in reverse. So are you a Hanged Muse, or do you just feel that way? So the Hanged Man tends to be about feeling stuck, right? Circumstances are beyond your control. There's a real element of martyrdom. There is an element of being slave to circumstance when the Hanged Man or the Hanged Muse comes up. I really like the Hanged Muse because it also really speaks to what's at stake here. And it is things like it's your creativity, right? It's your passion. Those things, suddenly you don't get the option to choose your path because circumstance has chosen it for you. But the Hanged Muse in reverse, and I'll even show you, she's not hanging anymore, right? She is literally flying. Kind of looks almost like how it looks to fly in a dream, I don't know if any of y'all have flown in dreams. When I fly, it always looks like I always have to start by taking big Luigi jumps. If you've ever played Super Mario 2 and Luigi has these big silly jumps where he's running as he's jumping, I always have to take these big silly jumps, and eventually one of them will get me flying in a dream. And that's what this looks like to me. So my question to you is, externally, you have the ability to start moving forward on things you've been putting on hold for life reasons, for adulting reasons, internally you may still feel stuck. So I just want you to turn inward and think about that. That's my only request to you, is that you, give yourself some loving time around why you feel stuck, even though you do have an opportunity. And I'll give you a complete opposite suggestion to what I just said, which is just think about it, and don't think about it and just start doing anyway. Allow yourself to just start doing the thing. Even if you're like, but I can't. Just start, and you will learn by doing that it's okay. Sometimes that's the way we teach our subconscious, right? We're like, guess what? Look, I'm doing it. So yes, leap of faith, Ondine says. Absolutely. Yeah. And it is a leap of faith, isn't it? To go ahead and engage with what we've been longing to engage with, even though circumstances are not perfect. It is a leap of faith. We were waiting for circumstances to be perfect, and we realize they may never be, and we just have to try. All right, I see some new comments over here. Okay, I see a couple people asking for questions, which absolutely. So we had Melissa Marie and Grayson, and Melissa did have a question. Okay, so card-wise, the other day somebody brought up perhaps my I don't want to settle down or have kids vibe is just because I haven't been single long enough in the grand scheme, and that my mind would change one day. And to be honest, it's kind of sticking with me, which is unusual. I think that I've been thinking a lot about my romantic future lately and how unsure I am about what I want, and if my desires are really just defense mechanisms. I know we discussed this on Halloween a little bit. That's really fascinating. And I love you asking that question the way you have, because I know also women get so much pressure to procreate. Men do too. But women get extra special pressure, not just to procreate, but we're supposed to be the ones who want to. We're supposed to be the ones who want to settle down and have kids. And if we don't fit that mold, there's a lot of social pressure that goes with it. And it can make it, I think, very hard to know what you really want, to ask yourself, do I want this because I want it? Do I want this because society is telling me to want it? Do I want it because society is telling me not to want it? There's just so much on there that it's hard to get to our true feelings. Anyway, that was just my psychological thought about it rather than the card. I will pull a card for you now. Haiku but make it tarot. Hello, thank you for tuning in. Feel free to drop a cat if you would like me to pull a card. Haiku but make it tarot. Everyone, great Insta account. Haiku_but_make_it_tarot. Go follow them. Really, really great, really refreshing content. Grayson adding to the discussion here. I never had kids and don't regret it. I'm 45. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, because I think we really need those voices. We get a lot of voices telling women that they will regret not having children when it's too late, as if women have an expiration date. And we don't, or we kind of stifle the voices of women who are happily childless. And I think that's very sad. And I'm not, by the way, I'm just discussing this, Melissa. I'm not trying to push you in a direction, because only you know what you want. And I'm just kind of validating what a kind of challenging path it is in this society that we live in. Okay, here is your card. It is another reversal. It is the 10 of Emotions reversed. This is really interesting. So 10 of Emotions is analogous to the 10 of Cups, which I have to say is the family card one ever pulled. So it's really interesting. It's almost like the tarot is throwing this back at you, which is, your idea of what is family is in flux right now. You literally don't have access to this card, the 10 of Emotions, which is a card that I view as being about family and about chosen family, about living out and kind of creating an emotional legacy with those in your life who are deeply important. Something I actually happen to think that you're very good at. It is the highest expression of our community and familial dreams, whatever that means for an individual person. Oh, I have another comment on Instagram. I'm also 45 and childless with a heart. So thank you. I'm 37 and childless, by the way, except for my cat child. I know that I could you know, if I really, really wanted to have a kid at this point in my life, I don't think I will, but I want, I thank everyone for speaking up about this. Judith says, never had kids, made the decision 50 plus years ago. Good choice. Thank you for validating that. And Mary Jane says, I had kids. I love them deeply. But if someone had told me what having kids would cost me, I may very well have said, hell no. Thank you also for that perspective. That's like real, right? That's like, it really is, you know, anyway, obviously this is not your reading. This is just us discussing it. I love how we come together to kind of grapple with these issues together. And I love just hearing everyone, share their experiences, because these are not necessary. Like, this is a topic that is very, very challenging, I think, for many people, because there's a lot of pressure, because we're afraid that when we say what we really want or what we really think, that someone's going to backlash at us. You know what I mean? So I thank you all for having this safe space that we can talk about this. All right. So as I was saying about your card, 10 of Emotions reversed, it really is the highest expression of love to you in a bigger sense than the romantic love, right? Like community love, familial love. And if you don't know what that looks like, you don't have access to the 10 of Emotions right now, right? It also indicates in the reversed form that you may have seen some like strained and messed up versions of this, and you are desiring to opt out of that. So for example, children of divorce, right, may say, like, I've seen some messed up implementations of family life, and even children of, conversely, right, parents who stayed together for the kids, who did not love each other but still tried to be a family for their children, and their family grew up in their children grew up in an environment perhaps knowing that their mom and dad didn't love each other, and all of the weirdness that comes with that as they enter into, you know, the age where they might start to think about relationships and family for themselves. And so often we see the 10 of Emotions reversed, where it's like a dysfunctional family situation, right? And how that has affected us. And so all I can really tell you is that the tarot cards are just reflecting it back on you. You know, like, it's that obnoxious thing tarot cards and therapists do, which is saying, well, what do you think about it? It is confirmation that you're on the right path to be grappling with this in this moment. Like, perhaps your ideas about this are changing. Perhaps your desires are changing, which you're allowed to do, by the way. And you're encouraged at this time to ask yourself, if the 10 of Emotions is a macrocosm, right? It is the kind of sum total of all the good things happening in our lives. It's an ideal. It's an ideal of like, yes, this is where I want to be with family, with friends, with chosen family, my community. What does a microcosm look like? It may be helpful for you to look at micro things that feel good and don't feel good to you to help you understand where you are with this in a macro way. Okay, like, what feels good amongst friendships in your community? What feels good in your artistic community? What feels good amongst you and people you care about deeply, whether romantically or not? And conversely, what feels bad? What are you seeing around you about people in relationship to each other that feels toxic to you? What feels not good? What relationships are you in, or circumstances are you in where you're having conversations and walk away feeling like that just doesn't sit right with me? Not exactly like even we're in a fight, but just like, this feels off. It doesn't feel like me. I just ask you to pay attention to those micros in the next little bit, rather than fuss yourself with the whole grand thing of, do I want this or don't I want this, or what do I want in terms of family life, which is a huge question, right? And perhaps those micros can help you answer that question in baby steps. Melissa says, yes, times 10,000. My childhood and also just all relationships I've really ever experienced with myself and others' relationships. I'm just not sold. Big mood. And Melissa also says, thank you so much. And thanks everyone for your input too. I have some really great comments here. Let me scroll down from Instagram. Okay. Ondine says, here's another take on the motherhood issue. It's never too late to have children because there is always adoption. Yes. Thank you for mentioning that, because I didn't get to, and I really agree with you. It goes back to chosen family. Plenty of children who need homes if one ever decides that one wants one. But even so, women have a prerogative either way. It's not all about biology is my point. Yes, thank you. Thank you for bringing it up past that reductive level. I do want to tell you, it's my duty to tell you that the term biological clock is not a medical term. It was coined by a pop culture author in the 80s. The name of this pop culture author, I'm not kidding you, is Faith Popcorn. Faith Popcorn made up the term biological clock, and it caught on in the 80s during a time when there was a bit of a backlash against the second wave of feminism. So, next time you hear someone talking about it, I just want you to remember that the biological clock is an idea Faith Popcorn made up. And that perhaps we can have this discussion around something other than reducing women to just their biology, which is also reductive of, like divergent gender identities and stuff like that. Maybe we can have this conversation about what people really want, what people really desire, and allow them to be individuals. Anyway, this has been your feminist broadcast with Sassafras Tarot. I have zero apology for my feminism. I think it's important that we have conversations from this perspective. All right. Who's next? Grayson. I don't think Grayson asked for a particular thing with their card. So I'm just going to pull a card for you, Grayson. Thank you all for being here for these discussions with me. I really, really love it. I feel really grateful because it has been so important to me to create community around what I do, around, my creativity, around this is really a different kind of offering. It's creative in a different way, but it's more about connection, which is another piece of what I believe my life purpose to be. And I feel like I just lucked into this beautiful community where I'm just having the conversations I always want to have. And that is my 10 of emotions upright, everybody. So I just want to thank you for that. Okay, Grayson, here's a card for you. Hey, Angie, thank you for tuning in. Please feel free to drop a cat if you would like a card. All right. Ooh, you have the wheel. And I also want to just call out that there's some numeric synchronicity today in our cards because the wheel is the 10th card of the Major Arcana. I love the wheel here. So we have the wheel and we have literally this vision of people dancing along the wheel. One person is kind of sitting kind of top of the pyramid, not actively creating anything, just existing on the flow of the wheel. Other people are kind of dancing with the wheel here. We see this figure who looks similar, is similarly dressed, around the wheel, kind of dancing towards the wheel, kind of reverse dancing, surrendering to the flow of the wheel. And then someone here lying on the floor, also in repose, but in some extent, like their energy is holding up the wheel, which is really interesting. Oh, someone just sent me a Venmo tip. Thank you so much. Y'all are so generous. I love you. So I really like this card because it shows us the different relationships we can have around, this is a big word and I don't use it a lot, around fate. And I want to clarify it. I don't mean fate like what you're destined to do in life. I mean fate like the parts of life we don't have control over, right? We all have to acknowledge that there are things we have control over and things we don't have control over. One of my problem with determinism, which a lot of people come to tarot expecting, they want me to tell them what's fated to happen. And my problem with that is free will is a thing. It's very real. So I can't tell you what will happen because you have an impact on what happens. And that's a good thing. It means you have power. And there are people who go too far in the other direction, in my opinion. And this is where you start to see this with certain people who are really, really intense about the law of attraction and manifestation, who literally believe that you single-handedly create your entire reality, which in my opinion is A, a very self-centered point of view, and B, one that doesn't scale, right? How can we all be creating our reality independently because my reality interacts with yours inherently. So the crap I do is going to affect your reality. The crap you do is going to affect my reality. The crap that Jeff Bezos does is going to affect all of our realities, like it or lump it. So we have to acknowledge that we do have free will and that there are circumstances beyond our control. The wheel is about the kind of changes that happen that are not about us. It's not changes we set in motion. These are the changes that just life brings to us. And it is about how are we going to react to those. And so my question to you, Grayson, at this time, when it sounds like there are changes happening that are those kind of changes, the changes that arose externally rather than internally, my question is, how do you choose to relate to those changes? Which figure do you want to be? Do you want to be this figure kind of sitting pretty on top of the wheel? Do you want to be this figure lying in repose, watching it go by, kind of blissfully? Do you want to be one of these dancing figures? To me, this figure looks like they are like experiencing a blissful dance with the wheel, like they're enjoying the ride of not knowing. They're like, yes, let's do this as an adventure. To me, this figure on the other side, conversely, looks like it's they are surrendering. There's a sense of like, I don't know what's going to happen. I am going to just trust. I'm going to trust something, myself, my higher self, whatever, that it's going to be okay. And you have an opportunity to be any or all of these figures as you interact with the changes life is throwing at you. And so I think it's important for me to remind you now that you do have a choice. You have a choice about mindset. And by the way, the wheel generally, it is about external change we don't have control over. It's usually positive. And I will remind you, as we talked about earlier, even positive change feels very stressful to us human animals who resist change. Naturally, it's a biological trait. The wheel is usually about changes that are ultimately either neutral or to our benefit. You can dance if you wanna. You can leave your fate behind. Ruby says, love the discussions. You all give good vibes and realness, and that's appreciated. I feel the same way. I really love the discussions we have here. Okay, let's see. I know I have some other people to read for. Let me see over here. All right, I've got Ruby next. I've got Judith. So Ruby, Judith, Mary Jane. And then I know there's a couple more people. I know Haiku but Make a Tarot's on deck somewhere. I know Angie's on deck somewhere. Don't worry, if you dropped a cat, I will get to you. But right now, Ruby, Judith, what was the third person? I already forgot. And Mary Jane. All right, Ruby, let me pull a card for you, my dear. It's good to see you, Ruby. How are you doing? To virtually see you, to see your text. Okay. Ruby, this card keeps coming up for you. Ruby, you have the Lovers. And I know it's not the first time I've pulled this card for you, whether it's like in a reading between you and I or here. Ruby, the Lovers is your card. This is fascinating. What does this mean to you? Are you, I don't know your exact situation at this moment. It's been a moment since we've caught up. Are you engaging with someone on a potentially romantic level? If so, like there's like a good synergy there. If not, the Lovers can represent your relationship to anything you feel deeply passionate and deeply committed about. So what springs to mind immediately is like your relationship with your daughter, right? That's a deep, committed and passionate relationship that also requires some level of surrender. So I think this card would be an appropriate card to bring up there, as well as your relationship perhaps to yourself, to what you really, really, truly want and really, truly desire, to your true desires on a more abstract level. Lovers is about desire, and it's about approaching desire as a joyful dance, as we saw in the last card. It's about an uncomplicated relationship to what we want. Because that is really, like, it's about the honeymoon phase of a relationship when we have the Lovers, right? And it feels uncomplicated. It may also feel complicated, but often in a new relationship, like, it feeling complicated somehow adds to the coolness. It adds to, like, the passionate emotional hold it has on you. And what feels uncomplicated is relating to this person who seems to understand you so well. So we're talking about uncomplicated desire. We're talking about uncomplicated union. What does that mean for you right now? Is that something you feel able to access? Do you have some resistance around the idea that you can have these things and it not be complicated? And And if the first thing that jumps into your head is like, no, I want these things to not be complicated, but I can never have them, well, that I'm here to tell you that's the resistance. So that's my question for you right now. Just play with this idea. And if you notice resistance coming up, to maybe pull on that thread a little, maybe follow that thread down and learn what it is internally that is telling you this is not something you can have in your life. And I say that because I see you're replying and saying, I don't know, weird that career is on my mind. No one right now, dating wise. And since you're mentioning that career is on your mind, I want to ask you to think about what it would look like to have a career situation that felt as good as the honeymoon period in a new relationship. That to have a career situation where you literally woke up every day like so excited about your career, where you woke up like, yes, I can't believe I get to do this. What would that feel like for you? And I'll tell you, for me, that's something I think all of you know I've been chasing for most of my life. The Lovers often applies to my career for me because my career is deeply rooted in like my purpose, and what I love. So what would it look like to you? Maybe that's something that will help your transformation, that will help you shape your future career. What would it look like to have that uncomplicated yet joyful and desirous relationship with your work? A lot of questions for you today. This card is showing you where you need to be on your path and what you need to be thinking about right now. And it's a positive card, again, indicating that it's right for you to be working through these topics because it will help you access what is already accessible to you that maybe is hard for you to reach right now. I know that felt a little it felt a little contradictory, and it's because I suspect you have some contradictory feelings about this. Ruby says, waiting on a job offer, envisioning the job, feel like it's meant to be, being patient, almost too good to be true. Wow. I hope that comes. That sounds wonderful. And you deserve it. You've worked very hard for it. All right, Judith. Judith says, feeling gig pressure anxiety. Just looking to check in to see if there's anyone else who had questions. All right, Judith, I'm pulling a card for you. I really know what you mean. There's a running joke that I like, which is, how do you get a musician to complain? You give him a gig. And I feel it. I know, like as someone who, has worked really hard to build their career around their creativity and their passion and all of that, then when I have something, a commitment, that I have to reach, it does feel very pressuresome. Making an album feels pressuresome. You want to get it right. Showing up for the gig, you want to get it right. You have so much on it, so many hopes on it. Oh, thank you. Ruby says, yeah, you know me, you've helped me a lot with all self-work. Oh, thank you. That is like my highest goal with this stuff, is for us all to grow together and work on ourselves and become like more badass, more joyful versions of ourselves together. All right, Judith, here is your card. You have the Queen of Voices. Stop worrying about the gig. You're the Queen of Voices. Like, my goodness. So Queen of Voices here are swords. So this is literally a reminder to pay attention to your voice, and not just to pay attention to it, but a reminder that it is a formidable force, literally, in terms of you speaking and singing and opening your mouth and using your voice. And it's also a reminder to ground yourself in your truth rather than, rather than problem solving, to ground yourself in what you know about yourself to be true, what you know to be your gifts. In particular, often when queens come up, it's because we need to remember and acknowledge our gifts, rather than grounding yourself in what seems to be the struggle of the moment. The Queen of Voices, no matter what her situation, remains the Queen of Voices, right? If the Queen of Voices is like at the top of her game, like delivering an amazing speech or performance that everyone applauds, she's the Queen of Voices then. If the Queen of Voices is on her way to an appointment and like her friggin' car breaks down and her tire is flat and she doesn't have a spare and she has to figure things out, she's the Queen of Voices then too. If the Queen of Voices is feeling hurt because someone said something super crappy to her and she's having difficulty clarity, putting her thoughts in order, she is still the Queen of Voices then. No matter what she faces, she still has those resources within her. And the lessons of the queens are that no matter what we are facing, we still have those resources. So as you are facing different things this week, I want you to come back to this idea that you are the Queen of Voices, and ask yourself, as the Queen of Voices, what resourceful and magical way can you approach this? Perhaps it's easier than you think. All right, I know I have a few more people. Mary Jane had a question for me. So let me pull a card for you, Mary Jane. Let me go back up to that question. Angie says, back from work call. Good, you did not miss your card. Don't worry. Mary Jane. Question, will I keep current job until I find a new job, or are current employers planning my demise? Wow. I really hope they're not planning your demise. You don't deserve to demise. Let me see what the cards have to say about this. The cards, oh, they've given you a muse. First muse of the day. The Muse of Inspiration. Now, this is interesting. The Muse of Inspiration is about, especially with wands, can often relate to career. So this affirms that we're talking about work, work questions. And the fact that they are expressed as inspiration here indicates like finding work that is more fulfilling. The muse is, did I say there were aces? They're not aces, they're kings. The muse is the highest expression of this suit, of ourselves in relation to it. So it's not just about us. It is also about us kind of aligning with whatever we believe in, whether it's like our higher self or the universe or like energy. It is about us being in perfect alignment in a beautiful way. That marriage of free will and circumstance really playing out for us, and us playing with it in a way that is kind of just right. So the Muse of Inspiration tells me that you will be able to find the new job on your terms. And it is encouraging me. Remember, muses also relate to kings. I kind of love the artist choice not to center kings in this deck, because it's always been about a bit patriarchal that like the highest card in the tarot is a king. Like, come on, do we have to? I like this author's choice to instead focus on muses, like source, right? Going back to source energy. So what I want to throw at you, much as I threw at Judith, is that you have the power to create the reality you're really wanting to create in your work life. And you also have the power to dictate how that will go, both as you exit your current situation that is not a good fit, and as you move towards a situation that is a better fit. So to answer your question on a real practical level, no, I don't think you have to worry about your current employers planning your demise and messing you up dramatically. And on a more abstract level, I think the cards are inviting you to make the plan, or inviting you to identify how you would like it to go, not just the work you would like to see it, yourself in, but how would you like the transition to go? What if that is also something you had control over and could have it go in a way that felt really joyful to you, really exciting, really inspired? What would that look like? That is the question the cards are asking you. All right, I know I have some other humans here. Let's see who else I need to pull a card for. I'm scrolling. All right, I've got Haiku But Make It Tarot on Instagram, and I have Angie here on, are you on Facebook? Yes, you're on Facebook. On Facebook. And then KK just showed up. Hey, KK, yes, you can. I have two people on deck before you. Absolutely. Oh, and thank you so much. A couple people have sent me tips through Venmo today, and I just want to say I'm really, really grateful for that. I do have a virtual tip jar. It's here at, like, running across the bottom of my screen, or it's in my links on Instagram and my bio. So if anyone wants to throw some love in there, I'm always really grateful. I offer these readings freely because it's a wonderful way for me to connect with you every week. But I really am very grateful when people are generous. So thank you. Okay. So Haiku But Make It Tarot, Angie, KK. That is the order. KK, feel free to drop your question now. And when it's your turn, I will scroll back up and read it. All right. Haiku But Make It Tarot, I am here pulling a card for you. I don't think you had a specific question, but let me double check on that. I'm going to scroll. We've had such good conversation today. There's a lot of scrolling, which feels really good. Just a cat. All right. Pulling a card for you. Okay, Haiku But Make It Tarot, you've received a reversal, and it is the Nine of Materials reversed. So I just want to ask you right now, are you overworking yourself? Are you burning yourself out without rest? Are you not giving yourself credit for what you have already accomplished? Are you pushing yourself towards a goal line that you then keep moving on yourself? Oh, I'll take a break when I do this. I'll take a break when I do this. Oh, it's never good enough. I can't take a break yet. Are those mentalities creeping into you? Because the Nine of Materials, this is analogous to the Nine of Pentacles. This is a time of, honestly, beautiful rest and gratitude to yourself. For a little bit appropriately resting on your laurels, for looking around at what you've done and saying, like, good job, me, giving yourself the validation that you deserve and the acknowledgement that you deserve. The Nine of Materials reverse says that you are unable to access that for some reason. So it makes me ask about overwork. It makes me ask if maybe you're doing the right self-care things, but you're not allowing yourself to take credit where credit is due. Often, I think, especially in the spiritual community, there's a big emphasis on gratitude, which I'm all about. I love gratitude. I think it can really, there are a lot of studies that show it really dramatically improves our lives and our happiness. But sometimes there's a missing link, which is being grateful to yourself, of honoring yourself. There's a lot of, like, the ego gets a lot of hate in spiritual circles, and I will defend the ego till the day I die. It's a vital piece of our personality. So I'm asking you if maybe you're not honoring yourself the way you really need to be, whatever that means to you. Okay, and the comments coming in are saying feeling stuck and tired. Can I ask you what it would feel like to just stop literally everything you're doing and take a few days to just do nothing? To just take whatever kind of break you need, and if you don't know what kind of break you need, just sit around. I know it's like, so it feels really like crazy to suggest sitting around in our current, like, hustle culture, but I want to ask you how it feels to think about that, because maybe sometimes that's what we need. Sometimes we just need a friggin' break. If we never get downtime, how can we move forward as our best selves, right? At some point, we become our depleted selves. If we never replenish, I'm a D&D player, if we never get a long rest, how can we never get back up to full strength, right? We're just walking around depleted, and we are not good to meet anything that may come in our path because we're depleted. So I'm just here to give you loving permission to rest if you need to rest. Mary Jane is replying here to her reading. Mary Jane says, I do want to be the architect, but I trust them as far as I can throw them, not to set me up in order to get rid of troublesome me. I'm going to say not to disregard your instincts in that area, because you probably are reading the situation right. But I know you probably are also doing what you can to make it so that that's not, a thing they can do to you. So I'm gonna return you to your self-trust. Trust that you can put this together the way you really want it to work out. Angie's saying meditation instead of sleep. Angie and I are in a Dungeons and Dragons game, and her character, because she's part elf, is able to meditate instead of sleep. Humans don't get to do that. I just want to remind you, we're all humans. You need your sleep. You need sleep. Sleep's a real thing. Thank you for sharing. I know a couple of people have shared the broadcast today. That means a lot to me. Okay. Angie, time for you. Angie, did you have a question? I'm going to scroll back up. Let me take a look and see if you asked anything in particular. Hi, Mew Mew. All right, I didn't see anything particular for you, Angie. I am pulling a card for you. Then KK is on deck, and then that will bring us to the end of this Witchy Weather Report. Thank you all so much for being a part of this with me. Oh, what have I done? I have some cards facing forward, some cards facing backwards. Oh no. Hang on, y'all. I need to do a little restore here. That's what I get for not paying attention. I didn't just insert like up and down disorder. I have some cards facing in one direction and like the face of the card, and some cards facing backwards. So I'm going to fix it. While I do so, I will remind you, I have a podcast. It's called Sassafras Cast. I actually just released a new episode, and it is about psycho-spiritual ways for dealing with burnout. I would love for you to listen to it. I would love for you to tell me your thoughts if any of these tips are helpful. In that podcast, there is a little ritual where we literally harness the power of fire to help us move through our burnout. And I feel like that might be useful for several of us. Also, if you like what I do, I have a Patreon. If you want to be like big in this community, I love this community. As you know, it's really important to me. The next kind of level of doing that is joining my Patreon. We have a really special Discord community where we all are like, you know, sharing with each other every day, sharing memes with each other, checking in with tarot bots, you know, like having lighthearted as well as full-hearted conversations. And my patrons do get a few other perks. They get a backstage pass every time I record a podcast. All my patrons are invited. At different levels, there is access to like discounts on readings from my Etsy shop and stuff like that. Bonus episodes. You can get a card pulled for you in a video and audio episode every month. So if that's something that sounds interesting to you, patreon.com/Sassafras Tarot is the place to go. And if you're on Instagram, that is in the link in my bio. And if you're not on Instagram, let's see if I can copy and paste that real quick for y'all. Here are all my links. There, now you have them. There. All right, I'm about done with my PSA, and I'm also about done sorting out my cards. Angie, I am going to pull a card for you in just a sec. And then you, KK, don't worry, I have not forgotten you. Angie says, what's a backward card mean? I don't know. Faceplant. It's right. It's like rolling a 1. I have rolled a 1 on reading the tarot. I have shuffled so that some are facing one way and some another. All right, let me do a nice shuffle for you now that I have, reconnoitered my cards. This is the Muse Tarot, by the way, with Chris Ann, for anyone who's curious. It's a newer deck. I've been enjoying reading it. Wow. Okay, Angie, second person today to get the 10 of Emotions in reverse. I want to just show this card to you for starters because we have this beautiful mandala energy here, suggesting interconnectedness and unity, that type of unity where every individual gets to remain an individual. It's not the melting pot thing where we all have to assimilate. It's where we all get to be individuals and we all get to affect each other in a way that is in harmony rather than in discord. And we see here at the bottom, and it's kind of like this kaleidoscope mandala thing is like the sun, right? It's like shining lovingly down. We are all influenced by our interconnectivity in this beautiful way with the 10 of Emotions, which makes sense because the 10 of Emotions is a card about family and community and chosen family. It is the highest expression of those things for an individual. Now that may vary, right? We all have different desires and needs in that department. And there are also like happy dancing children at the bottom, little humans being raised in the glow of this interconnected energy, being raised in the glow of like intersectionality and knowing that we're all different and it's okay and we all have unique gifts. However, you have the 10 of Emotions reversed. So what I want to ask you is what is making that hard to connect with for you right now? What feels struggly about accessing family, chosen family, community. Sometimes, I was saying earlier to the person who got this card before, sometimes 10 of Emotions reversed can look like dysfunctional family, dysfunctional community, right? And especially I'm thinking about like chosen family and communities where it's supposed to be supportive and we're supposed to have this safe space together, but then there's like infighting and it gets weird and dramaful. And families where there is dysfunction and where instead of showing up lovingly with each other, we start to dread interacting with the people we care about, like those kind of things. That's what 10 of Emotions reverse can look like. And so I'm just going to invite you to ask you what it would look like to chart your own course around this a little bit, recognizing that, yeah, like free will is real, but also outside circumstances are real. We can never have complete control. And she says, oh yeah, happy holidays. Yeah, I know. It really, like 10 of Emotions reversed really is like that nightmare Thanksgiving dinner where everyone's like grumpy at each other and fighting and having like mixed expectations. So I'm going to invite you right now, and the holidays is a wonderful time to grapple with this because you will get opportunities to ask yourself, what would it look like for it to feel in harmony? And if that requires like throwing the baby out with the bathwater and starting fresh with a new dream, like what would it look like if none of the current reality was in place and you just got to construct it in a way that felt really good and really supportive to you? What would that feel like? Because that can be an exercise that can help us then make changes within the parameters of reality, right? Bringing it closer to something that supports us. And she says, I survived and was an accomplished ref. That is the biggest Libra energy. That is the biggest Thanksgiving Libra energy I have ever heard. And then, yeah, yeet mofos, which is also the biggest Libra Thanksgiving energy I have ever heard. Thank you. Thank you for that. All right, KK, and thank you for reposting your question so I don't have to scroll up. All right. Why should I avoid Irene, and what is she feeling about me? Okay. I thought you asked before, should I avoid Irene? What is she, and what does she want to say to me? So slightly different. I'll go with your second question because I'm assuming that's, really more where you're at. Why should you avoid Irene? What does she feel about you? Okay. Here's your card. It is in reverse. This is the world cosmos. Now, the world is really a question of endings. So if Irene is someone that you recently ended things with, or perhaps you're trying to end things with and it's not working out, that is often what the world in reverse means. It means that maybe there should be an ending, but it's very difficult to make that ending happen because you don't feel closure. And I want to just share with you, and perhaps, like, also we have this question of what is she feeling about me? I'm going to say that she may be in the same space of that, knowing that things are not working and yet not feeling closure. And so this keeps kind of, like pulling you back together. What I'm going to recommend to you is usually in relationships that don't work out, seeking closure from the other person is just like seeking anything else from them. There's a reason it didn't work, right? There's a reason things aren't working between the two of you. And you may have to create your own closure. You might have to look at what would it look like to give yourself emotional closure, to try and get your own emotional needs met, rather than seeking getting your emotional needs met from someone who has not been meeting them. And I'm sorry if that's like a tough love kind of answer. And I also want to say you have free will and you're free to ignore my advice. Like if you're like, this doesn't resonate with me, or perhaps if you're like, well, if we're both feeling this way, maybe we can try to do it in a healthy way. I'm not the one to tell you what to do. I never give advice on like, here's what you should and shouldn't do. I'm more like, here's the weather, here's the circumstances, here's how it may be affecting you. And I want you to make your choices because the power should be in your hands, not mine, right? I'm not your parent. I'm just a tarot reader. I'm just here to tell you what's up. So yeah, the world in reverse. Does it feel like everything in your communications is literally upside down? Like it's very difficult to get on the same page. Like it's very difficult to communicate effectively because that is the feeling of the world in reverse. And so what I want to ask you is, are there ways that, kind of regardless of what happens moving forward, are there ways that you can give yourself some healing and some kindness around this? Because seeking it from the person who has been stressing you out may not may continue to give you those same confusing and conflicting results, right? So I want to ask you if you can be the person you need in your life most right now by showing up for yourself emotionally, by being kind to yourself, by maybe taking some time to listen to yourself instead of always going into action mode, right? Like, oh, I'm having a feeling, I better do something about it. What if you just said, I'm having a feeling, and like literally just held your own hand through it? You know, what if you were like, here's how I feel about this, and it's rough, and just sat with it? And what would that look like? For a lot of people, that's really stressful and scary, but also for a lot of us, when we show up for that friendship with ourselves, we come out of it a better version of ourselves. We come out of it stronger and wiser. So that is my advice to you, is to sit with yourself and be kind to yourself. Whatever you ultimately choose to do, I'm going to ask you to slow down and be nice to yourself along the way, because you're more likely to have better results when you're acting from your best self. KK says, thanks for the advice. Happy Thanksgiving. You're very welcome. And I really, whatever is best for you, I wish for that to happen. You know, I wish for this to work out in a way that is ultimately like good and healing for you. And happy Thanksgiving to you too. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone who celebrates. I know Thanksgiving can be like a fraught holiday with very problematic imperialist origins. But I do want to just say that I will take the opportunity to be grateful, and I'm grateful for all of you. I'm very, very grateful that you are in my life. Thank you for being a part of this with me. I will be back as always next week, same bat time, same bat channel at 11 a.m. Between now and then, if you want to check out my podcast, Sassafras Cast, I would absolutely love that. I've got a brand new episode there. It's about burnout, which I think especially this time of year we could all use a little help with. Angie says it's hard when emotions get tangled. Yes, it actually is. Oh, and KK says your voice is soothing. Oh, thank you so much. It's funny. It's funny. I'm a singer. I'm a musician. I use my voice literally for a living, and I never really liked my voice very much. So thank you. It's really nice to hear. All right, everybody. I'm wishing you well. I'm wishing you a week of kindness, self-kindness, getting what you need, and being a light in the world. Farewell, farewell.